I finally bought my dream home and invited my family to celebrate. Nobody showed up. They all rushed to see my sister's new car. Then, as I turned on the lights, my phone rang nonstop. It was my dad. "We need to talk now." I had spent my entire life being the family's quiet backbone, the one who always picked up the pieces, always paid the tab. But the day I finally closed on my own home, the sanctuary I dreamed of, my family descended on me like vultures, not to celebrate, but to claim what they believed was rightfully theirs. And that's when I realized, this was a fight I couldn't afford to lose. Alright, so picture this: I'm Aaron, 29 years old. And if you know me, you know I'm the planner. The spreadsheet guy. The one who keeps spare batteries and an emergency fund. I'm a project coordinator in construction, so my life revolves around permits, schedules, budgets. I love a clean list, labeled boxes, and doors that actually close the first time you push them. My family? They'd call me steady, practical. But honestly, I always felt like I was the quiet background system, making all their noise possible. Then there's my sister, Tessa. She's 26, and she's always been golden. Spontaneous, fun, vision-led. Which, in our family, basically meant our parents clapped whenever she wanted something. When I got my license, I saved up, bought a beat-up used Civic, and changed the oil myself in the driveway. Tessa? When she got hers, Dad just said, "A young woman needs something safe," and handed her the keys to a brand new hatchback, complete with a dealership bow. I learned pretty early on not to expect a standing ovation for doing the right thing. You just do it and keep moving. And in our house, money always wore a costume. It pretended to be love, duty, discipline, whatever fit the day. When I was 14, Dad called it responsibility, and charged me $100 a month for room and board out of my grocery store paycheck. "Teaches you the real world," he'd say, taking the cash from my palm like I was paying a ticket. When I was 16 and dared to ask where that money actually went, Mom would say, "Into the family." And when I asked to see the family it went into, Dad just laughed. By then, I'd started keeping records. A note on my phone, dates, amounts. I told myself it wasn't petty, it was my map through a fog where everyone else could just pretend. Meanwhile, Tessa had a talent for showing up after the check arrived. Phrases like dreams, vision, potential floated around her. She tried a semester of community college, quit because the professor was negative. Started a candle business, never paid sales tax. She wanted to be a content creator, which meant she needed a better phone, a ring light, a creative space, a car, for brand deals. Guess who did the math for that creative space? Guess who moved a couch from the garage? Guess who drove her to a collab that turned out to be some stranger's apartment with a weird smell? Yeah. That was me. So, buying a house for me? That wasn't about applause. It was about doors. Doors that shut and stayed shut. It was about not hearing my dad's TV through paper-thin walls, not sharing a fridge crammed with Tessa's meal prep jars that were always empty. I saved for 4 solid years. Overtime shifts, no vacations, roommates who left dishes piled high, and a spreadsheet I called brick by brick. I said no to a million little things so I could finally say yes to one big thing. Last month, that yes finally happened. A small craftsman, with a lemon tree in the yard and a porch swing the previous owners left behind, if you promise to actually sit there. 2 bedrooms, a squeaky hallway, a tiny old fireplace with a tile someone had painted with a crooked blue fish. I ran my hand along that kitchen counter, and for the first time, I felt like I'd found something that truly fit me. I snapped a photo, keys in hand, sold sign behind me, and sent it to the family group chat. Housewarming next Saturday at 5. Chili, cornbread, fire pit if the wind cooperates. I got 3 confetti emojis. "But proud of you, son," that felt like a cut and paste job. And from Tessa? A sticker of a champagne bottle with YASSS. All week, I scrubbed cabinet fronts until they gleamed. I rolled leftover paint over scuffs. I bought folding chairs and exactly 8 bowls that matched. I even found a second-hand rug and strapped it badly to my old Civic, so the corners flapped in my side mirror like desperate flags. Saturday arrived. I strung lights in the backyard, lit 3 citronella candles that smelled like lemon cleaner. The chili simmered. The cornbread went in at 4:20. I put a cooler on the deck with ice, 3 kinds of soda, 2 beers, and 1 root beer, because Dad likes to pretend he's a kid when he's in a good mood. I laid out napkins and cheap plastic spoons. 5:02 p.m. I checked the road. Quiet. 5:11, I lit the candles anyway. 5:18, I texted, ETA? Mom sent back, soon red heart. Dad didn't answer. Tessa? Tessa sent a photo. Her, on a car lot, sunglasses on, standing in front of something glossy red. Caption, we did a thing. 5:33, my phone buzzed again. A video from Mom. Look at our girl, she chirped from behind the camera. Tessa revved the engine. Someone laughed. A salesman clapped. The video ended. I just stared at the screen. The chili in the pot made a big, glossy bubble and popped. I turned off the burner. At 5:41, I switched on my new living room lights for the first time, expecting that house feeling to hit from everywhere at once. Instead, the room just looked like a photo stage for a listing. Clean. Ready. Empty. My phone rang. Dad. I let it ring 1 beat longer than I would have a year ago, then answered. We need to talk, he said. No hello. Just. We need to talk. Okay, I said. I looked at the little welcome sign I'd stuck on my porch. It felt like a joke. Now, he said. I stood there, in the quiet light of my own house, holding my phone to my ear, and listened to that tone my dad uses right before he assigns me something. I didn't know yet what they wanted. I just knew they were all at a dealership, and I was in a silent kitchen, and the chili was cooling. I leaned a hip against the counter and said, I'm home. I didn't add, finally, no one came. The porch swing creaked once in a small wind. The sign looked silly, like a setup without a punchline. I hung up. Phone face down. Somewhere in the city, my sister circled a parking lot in a brand new car, and everyone clapped. I stood in my house and listened to the refrigerator cycle on. The first trigger wasn't loud. It was lights turning on for an audience that chose another show. I plated myself a bowl of chili and ate it standing over the sink. It was good. The room was quiet. The lights stayed on. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just chewed. I looked at the doorway, felt the draft where the new weather stripping hadn't arrived yet. Then I washed the bowl, dried it, and set it face down on a towel, like I was getting ready for something I couldn't name yet. The thing is, anytime I pushed back, anytime I said no, like to a temporary add-on for my phone plan, or to just co-sign the lease for 6 months, the words changed. I became cold. Transactional. Stingy. Mom would say, don't be a ledger with your family, Aaron. Dad would say, a man provides. And a man provides for his. Family covered everything, Tessa's credit card emergency, Dad's truck tires when payday moved, the HOA fee they let go to collections because the HOA is a scam. There were the little ones too, Disney Plus, because we all watch. Coffee pods, because we like the nice ones. A replacement vacuum, because ours died and we can't vacuum without one. It was always plural when it was an ask, and singular when it was a thank you. If I said no, Mom's voice got glassy. We did everything for you, she'd whisper. We fed you. Dad would fold his arms and look out the window. We're not asking for the moon, he'd say. Just family. I keep telling people, I'm not a saint. I'm just a guy who likes to know where the money goes and what the plan is. I helped where I could because it was easier than fighting. And because sometimes, help feels like loyalty, even when it isn't. But this house? This house changed the math. This house meant I was done renting 2 rooms of my life to roommates and overnight guests. This house meant I could have a door with my name on it, and a deed where nobody else's initials could show up by surprise. This house meant no one could use we to mean you without me having to just smile and nod. I told my parents I was looking. Mom said, include a guest room so Tessa has a place to stay while she figures out her next move. Dad said, make sure it has a garage so I can finally store the table saw. Tessa, of course, said, your house is going to be amazing. And also, can I record in your kitchen? The light is perfect. When my offer finally got accepted, I brought over a bottle of cheap sparkling cider and paper cups. I did it, I said, beaming. Mom hugged me, then immediately said, we should get Tessa on your address so her insurance is lower. Just for now. Dad smiled, that tight smile, and said, a property is a family asset. Tessa took a picture of herself in my car mirror and posted, big change is coming sparkles, like the house was just a backdrop in her ongoing show. I paid the down payment. I paid closing costs. I paid to replace a section of pipe the inspector called optimistic. I signed 15 times, and then once more. The pen felt heavy, delicious. When the title officer pushed that folder to me and called me homeowner, I felt a knot loosen in my throat that I'd been carrying since I was 14 and handed a bill for being a kid. That week, Mom texted, we'll come Saturday to help you settle in and bless the space. She sent a list of small things they could bring, a plant, a rug, that painting your father loves. Tessa wrote, I'll do a house tour for my followers. I wrote back, housewarming at 5. It only occurred to me later to ask, are you coming to eat, or to claim? Saturday told me the answer. No one came. They were at a dealership, watching Tessa drive in a circle. My dad was probably on speaker with the salesman, bullying the APR. My mom was filming the reveal, eyebrows raised, like a surprise was happening to her. Everyone clapped for a car that depreciated the moment it rolled off the lot. No one looked at the door I'd paid to open. When Dad called and said, we need to talk, I knew, deep down, it wasn't about congratulations. It was about logistics. It was about my house the way a hawk thinks about a field. Here's the thing, that cooling chili in my sink didn't make me angry by itself. It was the latest line in a pattern that looked different in every scene but always drew the same shape, a favor with a deadline, my name on it. A plan where I was the safety net. A family where love sounded an awful lot like just sign here. I didn't answer Dad's now. I texted, tomorrow afternoon. He shot back, don't be dramatic. If you're the oldest in a family like mine, dramatic just means you didn't say yes fast enough. That night, the lemon tree clicked in the wind and dropped a single fruit onto the lawn. I sat on my new porch swing and watched a moth try the light. My phone lay heavy on the table. I didn't touch it. I watched the sky go purple, then unremarkable. I made a list for tomorrow that was half chores, half spine. The next morning, I wiped down the counters again. It's what I do when I'm waiting for a conversation where someone will hand me a folder and call it love. They arrived in a convoy, 10 minutes early, like a raid. Dad's truck out front. Mom's SUV behind it. Tessa in that shiny red car, temporary tag stuck crooked in the window. I watched through the peephole. Tessa checked her hair in the visor mirror. Mom pressed her lips together like she was about to discipline a classroom. Dad? Of course, he had a clipboard. I opened the door before they could even ring the bell. Hey, I said. Mom air kissed the air next to my cheek. We'll bless the house after, she said. After what? Dad brushed past me into the living room like he lived here. Tessa filmed a quick pan for her story. You guys look, she said to her phone. My brother's house. They didn't take off their shoes. They didn't say wow at the tile fish. They didn't ask about the lemon tree. Dad set the clipboard on my kitchen counter. Let's get down to it, he said. To what? I asked, even though I knew exactly what. He flipped a page. I saw printouts, headings, bullet points. He was excited. Okay, he began. First, since your sister's insurance is predatory, we're moving her registration to your address. She'll park here sometimes. No, I said. He blinked. Excuse me? No, I repeated. No registration at my address unless the person actually lives here. Mom immediately went soft and helpful. Oh, she'll be here all the time, she cooed. She needs a stable base. Tessa leaned on the counter, phone in hand. It's not a big deal, she muttered. They all do it. It's literally a victimless crime. It's not about crime, I said. It's about my name. Dad sighed, like he was being unbelievably patient with a stubborn child. You're being rigid, he said. Next item. We need to get your dad on the deed. You, I said. You are my dad. He ignored that. For estate reasons, he explained, so things are clean if anything happens to you. If anything happens to me, I said, my will is in my desk drawer. It is. I wrote one last month. 2 witnesses, Mike from work and his girlfriend, signed it. No one goes on my deed. Mom's smile thinned. We're protecting you, she said. You don't understand how the world works. I read things, I shot back. I understand. Tessa looked offended, like I declined to try her new lip gloss. So selfish, she muttered. We're literally family. Dad flipped another page. Fine. Then you can at least pull some cash out, he said. Refinance and take a small equity line, say, $80,000. We'll help you manage it. Tessa needs a down payment for a storefront. There it is, I thought. What? Mom said, genuinely surprised. The reason you skipped my housewarming, I said. You were getting ready to tell me what you're going to do with my house. Tessa threw up her hands. We were celebrating my car, she shrieked. It's a big step. You're being petty. Dad tapped the clipboard. This is the step, he said. We need to be strategic. Your money sitting in walls is lazy. Unlock it. Tessa's boutique will pay it back. Tessa's boutique, I repeated slowly. The candles, the pop-ups you cancel when you're tired, the brand you've renamed 3 times? She puffed up. You're being negative. This is why you don't get invited to things. I invited you to my house, I retorted. You went to a dealership. Mom cut in with that special voice she uses when she's about to call manipulation compassion. Aaron, she said, listen to me. We raised you. We housed you. We fed you. Family reallocates resources to the child in the season of need. You're steady. Your sister is launching. For 6 months, maybe a year. You carry more than she carries you when you settle down. Settle down? I scoffed. I just settled. Right here, in this house. Dad leaned forward, elbows on my counter. Be a man, he said. Step up. You taught me to be a man by charging me rent at 14, I shot back, my voice dangerously calm. I stepped up. I saved. I did this on my own. This house is not a group project. The air shifted. That's the moment where, in our family, you're supposed to back down. Because Dad's about to raise his voice, or Mom's about to cry. Tessa can sniff that moment and wraps it around her like a scarf. She pointed a manicured finger at me. You don't even use both bedrooms, she accused. I could move in. I could help with content. I could pay you a little. How much? I asked. She blinked. Why does it matter? Money is energy. It flows. Dad slapped the clipboard with his palm. Enough, he boomed. Here's what's going to happen. I'll call my guy. We'll get your deed set so you're protected. We'll refi to free up a cushion. We'll register the car to your address for the discount. You'll host Thanksgiving this year because you have the space. No, I said. I kept my voice level. To all of it. Mom's eyes filled in a way I recognize as real, but also practiced. Why are you punishing us? She whispered. This isn't about revenge, I said, and felt a calm drop into place like a seatbelt clicking. This is about closure. Dad scoffed. From what? From your family, I said. From a role I didn't sign for. From Aaron will figure it out. From being the budget line for every single plan you make. Tessa's voice went sharp. You're lucky, she hissed. You got a house. Some of us actually need help. I needed help too, I said. I just gave it to myself. Dad pointed at me like a coach. Listen, he said, his voice low now. You don't slam doors on blood. I'm not slamming, I said, meeting his gaze. I'm locking what I paid for. He straightened up, angry in that quiet way that means he's rewriting me in his head. If you do this, he said, don't come crying when you're alone. Mom added, and don't expect us to show up when you finally need something. I stared at the lemon on the counter. I wanted to be petty and hand it to them. I didn't. Tessa made a show of checking her watch. I have content to shoot, she sighed. Are we done here? We're done, I said. And then I laid down the rules, my house rules. No registering stuff here unless you live here. No keys given out. No one on my deed. No loans. If Grandma needs medicine, I'll help her directly. Otherwise, my house is not the family ATM or storage unit. If you want the table saw here, you bring cash for a storage shed, and we'll sign a receipt. Dad laughed, a hard, humorless sound. A receipt, he sneered, like it was a slur. Yep, I said. A receipt. Mom said, you've changed. I've moved, I said. They left with the kind of door close that says more than words. Tessa revved her car like the engine could drown out my porch light. I watched the red taillights fade. I could feel my heartbeat in my teeth. Then I walked inside and wrote those rules on an index card and stuck it to the inside of the pantry door. Not for them. For me. People think the big moment, the confrontation, that's the hard part. It isn't. The hard part is the next 2 weeks, when your phone turns into a fire alarm and you have to decide not to run into the smoke just because you're used to it. Within an hour, the group chat went electric. Mom, your behavior today was unacceptable. Dad, ungrateful. Tessa, a screenshot of a DMV page with address change needed, captioned, my brother is literally sabotaging me. 3 of her friends hearted it. Someone I didn't even know DM'd me a snake emoji. I muted the chat. I turned my ringer off. I set Grandma and Mike from work as favorites that could still get through. Then, quietly, without making a speech to anyone, I did the boring work. I changed the smart lock code and erased the temporary ones I'd set for move-in day. I installed a mailbox with a lock so no one could helpfully gather my mail and accidentally find my bank statements. I emailed my insurance agent and told her not to accept any policy changes without my written signature and a password we set on the phone. I froze my credit, because I know my father's definition of emergency. I put a freeze on my property records with the county that sends me an alert anytime someone tries to file something with my parcel number. I even called the dealership Tessa had posted and asked if anyone tried to use my address. The kid on the phone said, yeah, someone mentioned a family property for insurance. We didn't put it through yet. I said, don't, and followed up with an email, so there was a record. I saved the sent mail in a folder I called House Paper Trail, because if you grew up in my house, you know paper trails are how you keep reality real. Mom escalated to phone calls. 6 missed. Then 9. Then 4. The voicemails went from scolding to tender to threatening to tender again. We can fix this, she'd say. Then, if you love me, call me. Then, we'll be at your house at 7. Then, a sigh, I don't even know who you are anymore. Dad sent 2 texts that were just links. One to a refinance calculator. One to a storage shed at a big box store. Caption, be reasonable. I did not respond. Tessa used her public story to aim at me. Sometimes the people closest to you laugh when you dream, she wrote over a photo of her car. Drive anyway. Her commenters wrote, haters gonna hate. I closed the app, went outside, picked 2 lemons, and gave one to my neighbor across the street who had waved on moving day and said, welcome. She said she liked them in tea. We talked about nothing for 4 minutes. It felt like taking a breath in a place with actual oxygen. On day 3, Mom tried a new angle. "We have a plan," she wrote. "We'll help with your mortgage if you sign a family agreement that keeps the house in us." She used quotation marks around in us like she knew it wasn't English but wanted it to feel normal. I wrote back one sentence, "No one goes on my deed." She didn't reply for 6 hours, then sent, "You'll be alone at holidays." "Maybe," I typed, "but I'll have a chair to sit in." Aunt Mara called and left a voicemail with a hymn humming in it, then said, "Blood is thicker than pride." I googled the full quote later and laughed out loud in my kitchen because the original means the exact opposite. I didn't call her back. Dad showed up once, early Saturday, before I'd had coffee. I watched him through the peephole debate ringing the bell. He put his fist up, then down. He texted, "Come out." I texted back, "No surprise visits. Make an appointment." He stood on my porch and took a picture of my house, like he could scare me with the fact of it. He walked back to his truck and drove away. I wrote the date and time on a post-it and stuck it in the paper trail folder. That afternoon, Tessa fed my mom a line, and Mom fed it to me. "Tessa needs a temporary mailing address just for the DMV. It's just mail." I sent back the link to the state law that says primary residence. I wrote, "No." Tessa responded with 12 eye-roll emojis and, "You're literally obsessed with rules." I wrote, "They're how houses stay yours." Grandma called that night, after the soap opera she likes. "They're mad," she said matter-of-factly. "Are you eating?" "I am," I said. "I made chili." "Put some in the freezer," she said. "Don't let your mother guilt you into feeding them with your walls." "I won't," I said. We talked about her pills. I told her I could set them to auto-ship to her door every month. "You're a good boy," she said. "Don't be a fool." That's her version of "I love you," and also keep the doors locked. I wrote down what she needed and set it up online. I called her back with the order number. She wrote it on a sticky note and stuck it on her fridge. We're the same, she and I. We like numbers that prove things happened. On day 5, the texts got quiet. That scared me more than noise. Quiet, in my family, is reloading. At noon, an email from my title company pinged. FYI, received inquiry adding party to deed. No action taken. Attached was a blurry scan of a request form with my parcel number and father written where new owner would go. No signature, no legal anything, just audacity printed on office paper. The assistant wrote, "We rejected it as we should. We wanted you to know." I replied with 10 thank yous and asked them to note the file for any future funny business. I printed the email and put it in my folder. I ate a sandwich over the sink and shook my head until the anger wore down to a smooth rock. That night, the group chat renamed itself Family Emergency. Mom wrote, "We're having a meeting on Sunday. Non-negotiable." I typed, "I won't be there," and muted it again. Dad wrote, "You will." And then, "We're your parents." And then, "It's time for you to grow up." I set my phone down and hung a shelf in the hallway. I used a stud finder. I used a level. I felt the house take a breath after the screws bit into wood. I put a bowl on the shelf for keys that are mine, and only mine. On Sunday at 5, while they met without me, I grilled 2 burgers on my little grill and delivered one to my neighbor who texted me later, "You're a good neighbor." I watched the string lights come on. The lemon tree clicked. I ate the second burger in a chair I'd bought with my own money. I thought about that phrase Dad used, family asset, and wondered how many years I'd confused family with shared access to Aaron. The next morning, Mom tried one last-ditch ceremony. "We took your keys," she texted. "We're blessing your house with oil." They didn't have keys. I'd changed the locks. I told her that. She sent a photo of a little jar of oil on our old kitchen table. "We're praying for you," she wrote. "Thanks," I wrote back. "Keep your hands off my deed." She didn't respond. A week after the housewarming that wasn't, I hosted one anyway. I invited 5 people from work, 2 from my pickup basketball game, and my neighbor across the street. I made the same chili. I set out the same plastic spoons. We sat on the squeaky porch swing and told dumb stories about job site mishaps in first apartments with mice. At 7:40, my phone buzzed face down on the counter, and I didn't turn it over. At 9:10, someone said, "This place feels like you." I went to bed at 11 o'clock with dishes in the sink and my phone on Do Not Disturb and woke up at 6:30 to light coming through the lemon leaves and felt something like quiet that wasn't empty. The mailbox with a lock still gets me a daily postcard for myself. This is yours. This is yours. This is yours.